this weekend, Diana?
Me? Nothing very interesting.
The world remains in mourning after the death of the Superman.
What we're saying is a crime wave around Lex Luthor, the Arkham Asylum.
And where is the Gotham Bat? The mass vigilante has been a no-show.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It has to. We don't have any more time.
Something is coming.
No protectors here. No lanterns. No Kryptonian. This world will fall. Like all the others.
One misses the days when one's biggest concerns were exploding wind-up penguins.
This is crazy. Honestly, I think we're all gonna die.
Each of us, in some way, is held back.
Don't engage alone. We'll do this together.
It's really cool. You guys seem ready to do battle and stuff, but I've never done battle. I've just pushed some people and run away.
Relax, Alfred. I'll take it from here.
Do I know you?
Superman was a beacon to the world. He didn't just save people. He made them see the best parts of themselves.
All right.
I don't recognize this world.
We don't have to recognize him. We just have to save it.
How many of you are there? Not enough. Do you really think that...
Oh, wow, they really just vanish. Huh? Oh, that's rude.
You said you'd come. Now let's hope you're not too late.
What's up, folks, and welcome to The Bosses. That's where we look out for you, giving you the best in geek news and movie reviews. I'm your host for the day, the Big Boss, and I'm here with my amigo, the Professor.
What's happening?
What's going on? So today we are going to be looking at this Justice League trailer. So we've been kind of putting this off, trying to get these Marvel reviews out. And today we're going to look at some DC stuff. They dig right into this movie trailer.
Man, fair's fair. We got to do both sides.
Yeah, we don't want to come off as biased. I know we do sound like that. I mean, it's a lot of Marvel
I know I do.
But it's tons of Marvel stuff that comes out on the regular. So,
True.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
So, let's dig right in. First, before we even go in, I want to bring mention to an article we just read on these Justice League reshoots. So we just got finished watching the trailer. You hear about these reshoots, and like these things are measuring up to be like 25 million on the reshoots, and then they're worrying about scheduling with Henry Cavill and Ezra Miller, because those guys have two other big blockbuster movies that they're working on too. Mission Impossible 6 for Henry Cavill and Fantastic Beasts 2 for Ezra Miller. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts on that, Professor?
I'm curious to what all the reshoots are about first and foremost. You know what I mean, and why it's so expensive. This article we're looking at talks about how reshoots usually, if they're going to do them, usually between 6 and 10 million.
Right.
These reshoots are 25. Like that's a significant difference.
Yeah.
And you worry a little bit about it because not so much a big deal for Ezra Miller because his look really isn't going to change between the two movies too drastically because he doesn't have the facial hair for the characters or anything like that. But apparently, Cavill's character in Mission Impossible 6 has a mustache of some kind or a goatee, whatever they've got him rocking, and Paramount, has said no, you cannot shave, during our filming, and now Warner Brothers is going, well, shit, what do we do? It's not as big of a deal for Miller also because it's the same studio. Still Warner Brothers doing both movies.
Right.
So to get Miller back and forth really isn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
But with Cavill, it's two different movie studios, so it's making things a little more difficult. So now a lot of that money is going to be spent CGIing out the facial hair from him, and that just seems awful silly, when it comes right down. But, I mean, I get it. I get why Paramount would say that because you're going to screw up their continuity if you make the change, So it's interesting. It puts a little bit of worry on your mind. That it's not something that's a big deal because it's a lot of money to spend in changes. Lengthier, much more costly than the average reshoot. So
yeah, definitely.
You wonder, is it? Now, obviously, we don't know because they don't get into what all the reshoots are about. They usually don't. But is it something to do with the fact that you've now changed directors and now Whedon's come in and maybe they're trying to spin things a little differently, more towards his style, or is it just they're adding things to the movie because they thought something was missing? Just curious as to what it could be that could cost them this much money.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. I'm like, this is a lot to put into some reshoots. It's not what we see on average. I think my biggest thing is I know that they're putting a lot of hopes on this movie. Like this is pretty much going to determine the fate of the DCEU. So all the chips are riding on this film. So it kind of makes sense that they're not just taking their time, but they're putting the money in where they feel like it needs to be put in. It makes me equally parts afraid or doubtful, and it makes me equally parts maybe hopeful that they're turning out something really good. The fear is it's like, hey, this is a lot of money to be putting on last minute. But the other side of it too is that they're trying to softly reboot this universe so that it's something that fans can follow moving forward.
Right.
So we talked about it yesterday. Flash's new title now is going to be Flashpoint. So maybe they're going to be addressing a lot of the universe changes in that movie, but I'm pretty sure that, this is going to be a world changer as well. So I'm thinking with Joss Whedon on directing these reshoots, he's not going to get the credits as director for this film, but he's directing these reshoots, and the tone of the movie may change. You know what I'm saying? Some of the direction may change. Some of the story directions or wrap ups may get changed in these reshoots. So my hope is that these will be good reshoots and they'll be worth the money, because I just don't see how they could be spending this amount of money on reshoots. And they haven't even released a film yet because they have to make all this money back. Like, I'm sure internationally it's going to do well enough to cover the difference, but they're definitely playing a risky game this late in the game, trying to do those reshoots, man.
I mean, it's going to do numbers. There's no doubt about that. This is DC's version of the Avengers. It's the Justice League. It's basically the same. It's those parallel things on either side. We've got the Avengers in the Marvel Universe. We got the Justice League in the DC Universe. So it's going to do fairly well. I think what they lose, and you and I have talked about this since these movies all started, I think what they lose is some of the non-comic book community because they didn't set it up real well.
Right.
With Marvel, it was 5 movies before we got to the Avengers that all involved Avengers characters one at a time.
Yeah, they really
2 Iron Man movies. It was 2 Iron Man movies, two Iron movies: Thor, Captain America,
Yep.
and
but the Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk, right? Which they do consider part of the MCU
Yeah.
line. That all led to the Avengers. All DC so far technically has had is Batman vs Superman, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman. You can't really count Suicide Squad because those aren't characters who are going to show up in Justice League.
Yeah.
So in this, you've just got 3 people, 3 characters. Yet you're introducing 5 whole ones. Who have barely 2 characters who barely touched the other movies. You saw the Flash and Cyborg a little bit in Batman vs Superman for all of 3 seconds or whatever.
Right.
Same thing with Aquaman. You saw Aquaman and Batman vs Superman for all of 3 seconds. So you haven't really led too much into these characters. At least in the other Marvel movies, you saw more of these people, at least some kind of reference to them. You kind of knew who they were. But for the most part, they all got their own movie before we got there.
Yeah.
The only characters who didn't have their own movies were Black Widow and Hawkeye, and they're really technically background characters when it comes right down to it.
Right. And we got subtly introduced to a lot of these characters within those movies. So Iron Man 2, we got Black Widow, and Thor, we got Hawkeye. So it was like we got a taste of these characters way before we got to the Avengers anyway. So it's not like we're and that's definitely my worry with this one, is that we didn't even get introduced to the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. They didn't get the attention that I felt like they really deserved before we got us a team up movie like this.
Right.
The hope is that, DC knows what they're doing, and moving forward, they're trying to develop something that's going to be strong. So,
Well, I mean, like you said, with Hawkeye and Black Widow, we knew their names before the Avengers movie came around.
Yeah.
If you watched the movies, you knew what they were called. You knew who they were. They spent more than 3 seconds on screen. I mean, Black Widow spends the entire Iron Man 2 movie in the movie, so you know who she is by the end.
Yeah.
Hawkeye spends a large portion of the scene with Thor getting his hammer back. People know who he is. They mentioned him by Clint Barton. They tell you who he is. So you had an idea.
Yeah.
These are 3 characters who you saw briefly in Batman vs. Superman. You technically didn't see Cyborg. You saw whatever his actual name is, as a half a body on a wall. You never actually see him as Cyborg.
Yeah, and you see his dad working on him. That's who's talking. That's who's talking for that main clip. Yeah.
You see Flash in a convenience store robbery. You never see him in the suit. And then you see Aquaman underwater for all of 3 seconds before he destroys the camera. So you really don't, if you don't know the comics, you don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
They do have Flash in Suicide Squad for all of 30 seconds. I never say his name. They never tell you who he is.
Yeah.
He just does his thing. You know what I mean? So I worry that you lose some of the non-hardcore crowd because they just don't know who those people are.
Right.
Now, granted, some of that crowd's going to be curious and go see the movie just because they're curious to who they are. But it's going to be other people who go into the movie going, "Who the hell is that?" They're just not going to know. So I've always said the unfortunate part for DC is the blueprint was in front of them because Marvel's been doing it for so long. All they had to do is follow the blueprint. But because it's Marvel and because it's the rival, they didn't want to do that. They want to do their own thing.
Right.
And I think it's costing them, pretty significantly up to date, outside of Wonder Woman. I think it's cost them so far in terms of, enjoyable movies when it comes right down.
Yeah.
But that being said, watching this trailer, I have to admit, it looks a lot better than I ever initially thought it was going to look.
Yeah, man, that's one of the key things that I looked at in this trailer is how visually stunning it is. Like the landscapes and the environments are so well done, and these characters look so well built, and just the costumes are great, the lighting is great. Like it looks like the gritty film that they want to show, but it still has these fantastical places that you want to see.
And it feels like it's going to be one movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's going to be 8 storylines like Batman versus Superman was, between Doomsday and Lex Luthor and Batman versus Superman. And, there's going to be one storyline. Steppenwolf's coming to the planet, to do whatever he's going to do. Justice League has to get together to stop him. And that looks like that's going to be it. So... Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that's caused so many problems in some of the other movies, personally, is they just try to do too much.
Yeah.
There was too much in the way of jumbled stories instead of just one focused story. And by looking at the Justice League trailer, this newest one, to me it looks like they finally decided we're just going to go with one story, call it a day, and make the whole movie about the one line. And it looks like it's going to work.
Yeah, and that's where they should be going. I mean, when this trailer starts up, is like you get a feel for how they're gonna implement it. I mean, we get reintroduced to Wonder Woman right off the bat, and that's great because that was the last movie that we saw. We saw Wonder Woman, so of course we want to get reintroduced to her. And like Gal Gadot she's killing Wonder Woman. She's killing that role.
She's been great.
Yeah,
she's been fantastic.
It's like you see when she comes on the scene, she's in full battle mode. I made mention of this earlier. She looks at those criminals with like the hate of 1,000 suns. I love it.
It's just it will never cease to make me laugh. The fact that the biggest complaints people had about her before the movie even started was, A, her breasts aren't big enough to be Wonder Woman. Like that really matters.
Yeah, like
and
really?
B, her armpits are different colors than the rest of her body. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, that was really an issue people had. Like, really? Like, and the sad part is they went back and changed the color of her armpits in certain scenes because people were complaining.
Yeah.
If that's what you're reaching for to complain, you really need to have something else to do.
Yeah.
Because she's been very good. In all of the movies she's been in so far, she's been very good as that character.
Yeah, yeah. So it was definitely great to see her again, and this, it wasn't like this was part of the story at all. This was just a day in the life of Wonder Woman in the present day. So
yep,
she just taking down bad guys, and then she goes back to her curator job, and she's killing it. And then right after that, we get reintroduced to the Batman, and it's not so much that he's doing his thing; it's that he's completely vanished. Like he's off the scene, and that's what we're seeing is like the Batman completely hands off.
Yeah, I mean the first thing we see in that is J.K. Simmons, as Commissioner Gordon, and that man will never cease to amaze me.
Yeah,
now he's played two very iconic characters in J. Jonah Jameson, and now he's playing Commissioner Gordon. And both times he has literally looked like he stepped off the page of a comic book and just wandered onto his set to play the character. He's so good at becoming that character.
Yeah.
It looks like Gordon's not going to be any different just by the look of him. But, I think it's, if I remember correctly, I know we just watched it, but I don't remember. I think it's his voiceover basically saying, we don't know where he is. Batman hasn't shown up from forever, and he's got the bat signal on. And there's a quick clip of Affleck as Batman perched on a gargoyle on the top of the building, just staring at the symbol, not moving.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's kind of trying to be Batman, really, but to stay more in the shadows than he normally would.
Right.
And not kind of get out in the face of the public, which is very interesting. 'Cause not exactly where I would have expected the movie to kind of start to lean towards.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense because when we leave him after Batman v Superman, he's kind of questioning his modus operandi. Like he's questioning how he's been carrying out this stuff, and he is made a true believer in the Superman Clark Kent. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of wants to continue that legacy. And he's like in a state of doubt. So I can kind of understand that scene. And I want to see how they flesh that out because him just kind of totally withdrawing doesn't seem like it continues the legacy. So I'm trying to see how they fill in those gaps and answer those questions.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's definitely still watching, obviously.
Yeah.
But maybe not getting quite as involved as he used to.
Yeah. Yeah, and then right after that, we start hearing the Steppenwolf voiceover, man, which is eerie, It's fear striking, and it does drop a couple of Easter eggs, man.
It certainly does, yeah. And it's not a voice I recognize. I'm curious if it's somebody who would normally know, or if it's the actor. I don't know who the actor is just yet.
Yeah,
who's playing Steppenwolf. It might be out there. I just haven't looked it up.
Yeah,
but it is kind of a creepy, kind of gravelly. To be honest with you, more of a voice I would have expected to hear on Thanos. For Infinity War. Not that I have a problem with Josh Brolin's voice, but to me, that character should have always had a real deep, kind of gravelly voice behind it.
Yeah.
And it seems more like Steppenwolf has that voice that I was looking for than more than Thanos does, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. He makes mention, like they're getting ready to take over this world. There's no protection here. There's no heroes. He says there's no lanterns.
Yes,
which is huge.
It's an interesting reference. I think he might say there's no lantern.
Okay.
Singular, not that it makes that much of a difference.
Okay.
But he does definitely, because when you initially hear it, you're kind of like, oh, no lantern. He's just talking about light. And then you think about it, and you're like, wait a minute. Because he follows that up by saying no Kryptonian.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to think that it's a shout out to the Green Lantern. Potentially, well, we know the Green Lantern Corps is coming as a movie for the DC universe.
Right.
I believe that's 2020, something like that. But, the speculation for a long time has been, is the Green Lantern going to be in Justice League? And I don't think I've seen anybody say no.
No, nothing like that yet. Yeah.
You have to wonder. I mean, look, potentially, just a quick jump to the end of the trailer, you have Alfred working on a car and talking to someone saying, they told me you would be here. Let's hope you're not too late. The obvious thought there is it's going to be Superman, right? You would 99.9% of the time you would go, okay, he's talking about Superman. We all know if we've seen Batman versus Superman, which if you haven't, it's worth at least one watch. It's not great, but it's
just
worth
to fill in the
watch.
gaps. Just to fill in the gaps.
Just fill in the gaps. At the end of the movie, spoiler: if you haven't seen Batman vs Superman yet, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Superman dies. Supposedly. The end of the movie. Hey, give him at least a 5-second countdown, right?
That was very gracious.
Thanks. The Superman character supposedly dies. Now, the end of the movie, they show his casket and it starts to move, so clearly he's alive. But the thought being is, he's coming back to life and he's going to come back and help the rest of the heroes save the world. But, how many times have we seen a scene like that where it's a total swerve and it's not what you think it's going to be? And that could potentially be, him talking to a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And they just don't have the green glow, washing over him like you would expect to see because they don't want to give it away.
Right.
When the movie rolls around, they'll add that effect into the scene, and you might see that. So that could potentially be that. Do I think that's it? No, I think it's Superman.
Yeah.
But there's always that little sliver of a chance that it could legitimately be Hal Jordan or John Stewart or Kyle Rayner or Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
It could be any one of the four, or any one of the thousands of lanterns there are, but it could potentially be a lantern he's talking to at the end. That'd be a pretty cool twist.
Kilowog
would be awesome. Kilowog would be great.
Oh,
but
man.
Yeah, but while we're getting the voiceover, the first scene we see is Themyscira. So we're going back briefly to Themyscira from Wonder Woman. The land Wonder Woman is from. And you see Themyscira getting attacked by Steppenwolf and his parademons.
Yep.
And I believe what's in the trailer is a mother box sitting on a pedestal. Looks like what he's going after.
Yeah, that's definitely what they said on that pedestal is a mother box.
Okay. So it almost seems like, I think you might have said this the other day, that it almost seems like the mother boxes are taking the place of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
For the Justice League.
Yeah.
And that's going to be their ultimate goal. Maybe you have to collect so many of them or something like that, or you need 3 or 4 of them and you can combine them to make something major. But that seems to be maybe what's going on there, and that's that first clip. So it's cool that we're going to get back quickly to Themyscira, because that scene or that scenery is ridiculous. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I would love to see a little bit more of that pop up in the movie, which obviously is going to happen.
Yeah, I hope that scene lasts a little bit longer than it lasted in the trailer, because I love Themyscira. Like they really did that well. That's designed really well, and I love the characters there. So yeah.
Yep. So that's potentially there. And then as he's saying, the brief mention of the lanterns, no protectors, is a quick shot of Cyborg and of Flash, but you can't really tell what they're doing. Cyborg kind of looks like he's investigating maybe a crime scene.
Right.
There's like a broken window in a hotel that he's kind of standing in, and then they show the Flash pushing through a window, which is kind of weird, but that scene, you can't tell what that is at all.
Really,
yeah. It's just kind of, he went through the window. But then, he says no Kryptonian, and there's a shot of Bruce Wayne standing in front of what's pretty clearly a hologram of some kind of Superman.
Yeah.
You see the red cape fluttering, and you see the blue leg for the pants. So, we know he's not back just yet, or whatever part of the movie that is.
Right.
But it's a cool little voiceover with the imagery, the way they're working it. So
yeah,
I like that. I like that part of the trailer a lot.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how that goes. I kind of hope they go in the direction of it just being Superman, because going in the direction of introducing the Green Lantern, it's like, oh man, another character that we are not really familiar with in this world yet, and you guys are gonna give us a reveal like that. So that kind of just makes me part of me wants it. The comic book fan in me wants it, but the regular movie going fan in me is like, I need some more development. Like, this world has not been thoroughly fleshed out for you to introduce another character to me that I have no idea where they come from.
It would be rough to introduce 4 brand new characters essentially in one movie.
Yeah. So it's like you were talking about the scenes with Flash and Cyborg, and we're watching these guys and Aquaman. There's a scene with Aquaman in there too, thrown in that voiceover. But we see these 3 characters, and they're introduced in the trailer. Flash is introduced, I mean, pretty obviously as the comic relief of the group. He's kind of like the new guy on the block. He's trying to figure things out. So it's going to be nice to see him in this kind of character where he's kind of still fleshing out his powers and being in this environment. So I'm interested in seeing that. I like Ezra Miller as Flash. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one because everybody wants Grant Gustin to be the Flash in the DCEU, but just let it be, folks. Let it go. It's too late.
Look, I'm not a big Ezra Miller fan. I've seen him in other movies that I wasn't a big fan of him in. From what I've seen of his Flash so far, I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who would have preferred they use Grant Gustin just because I do like the TV show Flash. And I also think it would have made a hell of a lot more sense because you have a guy who's already established and who's going to bring you just that many more people to your movie.
Yeah.
But, the excuse made to me is so lame when they say, oh, he's not, Grant Gus isn't dark enough. Well, look at Ezra Miller, what you've got in the trailer so far. There's nothing dark about that character whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cop-out to me that was their way around it. But I get it.
Yeah.
You can't use the same people for everything. Well, I mean, look, you can. Look at Marvel.
Right.
But, now, you know what? I take it back. I don't get it. I don't understand not using a guy who's already immensely popular to help bring people to your movie. But, they're doing what they're going to do. So, means eventually if they do a Green Arrow, they're probably not going to use Stephen Amell.
No.
They probably won't use Melissa Benoist if they do a Supergirl, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think they lose out. Again, I think they lose out because they have those characters established already. They've got the popularity. But, what do I know? I've never made a movie, so.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out when they do introduce all those characters that are already established on the CW network. The biggest thing is that they're, by putting Ezra Miller in here, they're saying like, hey, we want to make Flash a lighter character. But they're backtracking. They've been backtracking in the DCEU for a while now. So they said, hey, we wanted to do it gritty. Now they're saying, maybe we won't make it so gritty. It's going to be serious, but we're going to go around this way. So this is how we're going to do it. But I mean, you the way that they're doing it right now, this is the only option that they have. So we'll see what happens and how this turns out. But yeah, Grant Gustin, Stephen Amell, Melissa Benoist, they would have been excellent additions to this universe if they were establishing it, through the TV show into the movie universe. It's a missed opportunity. It gives them more coverage. So they can always backtrack and lean on one rather than the other if one fails.
Right.
But, it's just a missed opportunity.
Look, they can solve it all for me in one casting when they do this Justice League Dark movie. You give me Matt Ryan as Constantine in the Justice League Dark movie, and all's forgiven. Because that guy is amazing as Constantine, and you will not find a better Constantine than Matt Ryan.
Yeah, definitely.
No offense to Keanu, but he's just not quite the same.
Yeah.
So that that would do all things for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll keep plugging away on this. So the next scene, favorite scene in the whole thing, as I'm a huge Jeremy Irons fan. He's just one of my favorite actors of all time, and it's a little quick clip between him and Bruce, going back and forth, and he says, of course, I miss the days when the one thing we had to worry about the most was a wind-up penguin, which to me is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Clearly a quick reference to Penguin, who, potentially could show up somewhere down the line in the solo Batman movie if they ever actually make it.
Yeah.
It's just a great little quick shout out for me. I love that.
Yeah, that was good. I'm really loving Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I think when they casted him in getting that news, I was all for it. I was like, he's perfect. I can see him as Alfred, and he serves as like the perfect foil for Bruce Wayne. And I think he's great. He's a great addition to the universe. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in Justice League.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
So
one of the biggest things, I think one of the biggest things that really was brought to my attention that I was like, I was kind of worried about is just how silent the character of Cyborg was in the trailer. Like we got a little bit of Flash and we got a little bit of Aquaman, and we got to see Aquaman do his thing. But Cyborg, we get to see him in a scene where he pretty much hacks a big robot machine and controls it, but he's very stoic and very icy, and I think that may be a part of his character, which I'll be interested to see, is especially if they're going to do a standalone for him. Watching his character development is going to be fun. But yeah, I just want to see more.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they show you a little bit of everybody. It's another person we don't see in the trailer, clearly is Superman, right? It's one person we know in the movie we don't see. They show you the Flash, a couple different scenes, very green, very new to the hero thing.
Yeah.
Kind of going to be learning the ropes as things go along. The quick shot of all of them on the rooftop with Gordon. Gordon turns around and they all pull the Batman thing, and the Flash standing there by himself like, oh. They all just kind of left. That's rude. And then he takes off on his own. Very funny, quick little hit.
Yeah.
But you can tell he's the new guy, the green guy of the group. They show your Aquaman, who very different than what I expected. The Aquaman that I'm familiar with, which isn't all that familiar, is the regal king of Atlantis, kind of kingly, character. Not the guy we're getting in this movie, it seems, by any stretch of the imagination.
Nah.
Could be parts where that changes, but most of this is him screaming and hollering, cheering as he's driving his trident through the chest of the Parademon and riding it to the ground.
The Coltrane of the Justice League.
Yeah, excellent. Yes. Yes, very Coltrane. Very Jason Momoa. That's what you would expect him to do.
Yeah.
But then all we really get is a quick shot, and we've really only got two quick shots of Cyborg ever speaking. One is the first trailer where it says something about, so you dress like a bat now, or something like that. Or you look like the Batman, something like that.
Something, yeah.
And then in this one, he says nothing more than, I'll take it from here, Alfred. Very robotic, obviously Cyborg, but a very robotic feel. So I don't know if he's going to be RoboCop, or is he going to be, Cyborg that we normally see kind of joking around and kind of being a normal person, even though he's in this, shell of circuitry, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious as to how that character's going to be handled. I think if they go more to the RoboCop angle, where he's very stoic, very robotic, very cyborgy, I think people aren't going to like it.
Yeah, I think if they play it right, it'll be part of his character development, and we'll watch him become more human within the movie. If not just within the movie, definitely within his own separate arc that they have planned, because we need to see that. I think that's one of the biggest pieces of Cyborg's story arc in the comics, is that we kind of watch this man deal with the fact that he's half machine. Like, he feels half dead. He feels less than human. He feels half human, and he's trying to regain, his emotional connection to the world around him. So I'm hoping that they kind of explore that a little bit, with everything that's going on in Justice League.
Right. And I think they will. I think at some point he becomes a more a more likable character than what we've seen so far. So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then like we said earlier, at the end of the trailer is Alfred fixing a car. He's got a glass of something sitting there, and all of a sudden starts to shake like Jurassic Park. And he stands up and he goes, they told me you'd be coming. Let's hope you're not too late. But you never see who he's talking to, but you have to think he's talking to Superman. I can't imagine any other way around it. You think he's talking to Superman.
And we talked about this before, and I kind of mentioned like, hey, at the start of this trailer, there's a quick glance on a newspaper that says all hope or hope is lost or has hope died.
A world without hope.
Yeah, a world without hope. Yeah. It says a world without hope, and then we get to this particular scene, and Alfred kind of emphasizes hope in his line there. So I'm thinking that it's going to be Superman. I mean, honestly, I really feel like all points lead to Superman. He's the only guy we didn't see in the trailer. So
yeah. The curious part is what he's going to come back as, because there's so many rumors, that he's going to turn out to be part of the, a villain in the movie, because he's just coming back from having died, so he's not going to know who he is.
Yeah,
and that just seems kind of silly to me. I can't imagine they're not going to have him come back. Because the one thing that I've read is that he comes back as the Boy Scout Superman. That everybody kind of was upset that they didn't see in Man of Steel.
Yeah,
not everybody, but a lot of people were upset that they didn't see in Man of Steel, and that something about his death kind of teaches him that that's really the way he thinks he should be.
Right.
So that I would tend to believe that more than I would believe anything else.
Yeah, I could definitely roll with that. Yeah,
because I think that's the character you need. As far as these movies go, you need the you need that Boy Scout, back in the DC world again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, well, that's pretty much all we got as far as the Justice League trailer is concerned. Overall, I really enjoyed the trailer, and I'm really looking forward to the release of this movie. It's shaping up to be something that could really be what DC needs to carry out its cinematic universe. But I mean, a lot of hopes are riding on this one, man. And with the news, it kind of makes it, with the news that we just read at the beginning, it's kind of a little shaky. But we're hoping for the best with this one because the trailer looks great.
Look, I've said before in other places, I'm a Marvel guy. I grew up reading mostly Marvel stuff. I don't want to see the DC world fail. My DC stuff has been more obscure stuff like Lobo and Demon, things like that were my favorite comics as far as DC was concerned. But overall, I'm a movie fan. I'm a superhero fan. I want to see them succeed. I want to see the movies be good.
Yeah.
So I hope it comes out well. I think it's in some trouble only because of what's led up to it so far. I think Wonder Woman has taken them back on an upward curve.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to really help them going in there. I think they're in some trouble because it's opening 2 weeks after Thor opens up, and if Thor is as good as it looks, it's going to be a monster of a wave coming at them. Thor's November 3rd, Justice League is November 17th. And like I was telling you, we did on one of the last pods. I honestly believe that you will see the Punisher Netflix series released on November 17th because that's just what Marvel does.
Yeah.
So. I think they've got a little bit of an uphill climb, and if Justice League doesn't do well, you could potentially see everything get scrapped and then wait a year or two and start all over again, because the last thing they can afford right now is any kind of dive. Just because, look, they have their fans. Justice Suicide Squad, Batman vs. Superman, Man of Steel have their fans, people who love the movies. But if what I've seen, the things I've seen are any indication, the majority of them are not fans. So, they've got some work to do, and it looks like they're doing it in the right direction. So,
yeah.
So, time will tell. We'll know in November.
Yep, definitely. Well, that's it for us here. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and to our page on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. We're at facebook.com/thebossesdesk. We're at Twitter, twitter.com/thebossesdesk. Our blog is thebossesdesk.com, and you can check us out here on this YouTube page. We'll be posting a lot more reviews, trailer reviews, and all of that. So just look for us this weekend. We'll do a news roundup and take a look at things that are going on, and you can look for us out on there. You got anything for the people, Professor?
Not that I can think of. I mean, next one, I think we're really going to be looking at as far as big movie releases, probably going to be Dark Tower.
Oh, yeah.
In 2 weeks, I think, is the next big one as far as I know. So, keep your eyes out for our reviews on that. So I'm definitely going to go be checking that out over the weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that'll be it for us here at the Boss's Desk, man. This is the Big Boss and the Professor signing off.
See you.
Later.